that's a very good training to be trained a bit in shamanism journeying. That's something different because we can choose in which kind of world or level we are going and avoid the bad levels, I mean, that you can mean at first. And then one time I had a very funny experience about that because I always tended to leave my body naturally since I was a child. But this occurred only a couple of years away, and that was so funny. I was born in an old house that then had been destroyed to put in place a big building, you know, modern and so. And I was used to dream a lot of that old place because I had lots of nice stories about that. And one night I found myself in exactly the same place, but in a new one, you know. So a flat, brand new flat on the first story. And then I guess I made some noise because a woman got up from her bedroom. She saw me and she shouted so much because she thought she had seen a ghost. So that was something funny. That's all. I laughed a lot. So you can be a ghost when being alive.
Yeah.
And there is maybe something I could tell you about. I was interested seeing that there was a place they saw in remote viewing, which was an alien base. And I know perfectly well this place too. That, so that interested me, Monte Perdido. It's, you know, in the Pyrenees, you have one part which is in France and the second part which is in Spain. And a lot of people think about UFOs in a very well-known place, which is Mount Bougarache. Lots of people were speaking of that mount in 2012. But I know Mount Bougarache, but I always felt very bad there. So probably it's linked to some kind of energy, sure. And the whole mountain, which is very high, Pyrenees mountains are really high with glaciers and snow and all. It's really filled up with caves. And I spent 2 years, all weekends, visiting caves on the French side. But so it's quite easy. I remember we used to sleep in one cave, which is high. So we had to go climbing rocks and with ropes and all. And we always felt visited at night. We couldn't see anybody. It was very difficult but we felt people around us. So that was an experience we stopped very quickly. But on the Spanish part, so of Mont Perdido, it's very interesting because from the 12th century, there were lots of legends and very important stuff, spiritual stuff around that place. And for instance, you have a valley which is called San Juan de la Peña, which is said the valley of the Grail. You have too the forest of the Grail. And it was so important that all kings, because you had the kingdom of Spain and you had the kingdom of Aragon, which is the north part of Spain on the east side. Nothing important could be done except on Mount Perdido. Everything is important. Giving birth possibly for the royal family, marriages, burials, and all. It's a very sacred place. So I visited that place many times. And one time I took my daughter with me. She was about 15 and so. And we were sitting on a rock, really it's a bit desertic, that place. And so I was explaining her that probably there were huge caves under us because I felt it deeply. And suddenly we heard voices. So it frightened us. We listened to that for about half an hour. Then we felt a bit frightened. I mean, being totally alone and listening to people talking just in front of us. I mean, then we heard music and songs, which looked like a very ancient ones. And we were totally alone in a very solitary place. So that's my experience. But it's very easy to see UFOs over there. So that's sure we saw them quite often. So I'm not very surprised that it could be an alien place anyway. And it was, the Templars were very fond of that place too, and they had many important sites and castles not far, which were used as really esoteric place. It was not the military side of the Order of the Temple there. They had ceremonies because you had an inner order, then a second ring, then the third one, which was the only one which is well known about military stuff. But it was much more than that. And so the center of the order was there around Mount Perdido. So, well, I always thought there was something very weird around there. So, but I only know the past of it, not what occurs right now. So, just to share.
Well, thank you, Marie. Yeah, you have a lot of experience of the mysticism of your life. There's Robin's here. You want to say hi, Robin? You're new to the group.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm very new, so I had no idea what I was.
Oh, I like your
what the
2001
topic of the
Space
day is.
Odyssey behind you. I gotta get that picture on my Zoom. We're all playing around with our Zoom pictures.
Oh yeah, it's probably my favorite movie ever. I was just actually reading a lot of Arthur C. Clarke this year and sort of getting caught up on where he's at. He's finally written 3000, which is the latest, and I haven't got to that one yet.
Yeah.
But this is from 2001, if you don't.
Yeah, the famous movie scene when he's in the bed. Yeah, the Dave Bowman's in bed. You can see it's like about 80 years old. He's dying.
Yeah, it's just about to be reborn.
Yeah. Yeah. And Joseph, when I say hi, you brought Robin in. Sometimes I miss people in the waiting room before I realize, oh, someone's in the waiting room.
Well, the thing is with these Zooms, I had to ping you because you never know, right? You always get some interesting people that try to crash. So it's like, nope, he's legit. Yeah, no, sorry, I missed the beginning of it. Just got a little caught up with some other stuff, but it looked really interesting. And it's nice that Dave shared the book. I wasn't familiar with that book, so I'm definitely going to be looking it up. So I probably got some interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, it was kind of like the first book of its kind. I think he started astral travel around 1958. He published it in 1971.
71.
And I got in 75 when I was 15 from my dad. Yeah, it was like, he was a Pennsylvania engineer. Yeah, he really opened things up for us.
I mean, that was probably akin to witchcraft back then. I mean, that was really cutting edge as far as discussion and opening that up and making it a public conversation piece, right? So
Joseph, want to tell us what's the latest in your study? Joseph was a previous organizer of the Vancouver UFO meetup. You moved to Kenya and you've been visiting your parents in Montreal. Where are you now?
Still in MTL, still here.
MTL.
Yeah, I'm on long-term a Montreal stay, so liking it here. It's very, very nice. Weather's improving, so I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to be here and enjoying that. But good to be back in Canada, right? It's been a long time since I was back. So it's good to reconnect with everyone. And
so you do project management in Kenya for the UN, right?
Yeah. I was there for a while doing that, operations and PMO for their PMO office. So enjoying that, and now.
What kind of operations do you do? Like, what sort of projects do you work on?
Basically anything that was WHO or UN led in Middle East or North Africa. So all that ran through all that PMO stuff ran through my office. So originally signed on for a 1-year contract, ended up extending for 4 years and exploring the African continent and the Middle East once again. So it was good work, and it was fun and rewarding, and met a lot of great people.
What does PMO mean?
Project Management Office.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So yeah. So now it's back here, and and getting readjusted. I was keeping in touch with the group, as you know, but it was at weird times, right? You guys would be having stuff, and I'd be popping in at like
3 in the morning for you. Yeah.
So
You want to talk a bit about your UFO studies or what you did
know
at
what?
Area 51? Joseph has a
Oh, it was-
secrecy oath. He worked at Area 51. Ooh.
I will talk about, so while I was in Kenya, I actually took a course at a University of Edinburgh. I took a parapsychology course for a semester. And because of the COVID, obviously it was 100% online. They have an excellent course on remote viewing, all things parapsychology, out of body experiences, basically an actual credit course that actually can apply for your degree, but you don't need any qualifications to take it. You can just sign up for it. But it's actually one of the better classes I've taken. We had folks from about 3 or 4 different continents, live interaction with each other. It was a full semester. It was a full semester course. Obviously, you have to put in a little bit of work because there's write-ups and presentations you have to do. But I really enjoyed it. If anyone ever wants to check it out or look at enrolling on it, it's the Kessler Institute, which is actually the premier center for parapsychology in the world. It's at the University of Edinburgh, and they do offer online courses. Obviously, well, everything's online, at least for the next year. But this one is an online course, and it's actually I don't really usually recommend traditional educational university type stuff, but this one is actually, it's not conservative. They come at it with a very open mind. Different folks in the course came from a mystic a standpoint. Others were atheists. Some had very religious views, but the amazing thing is everyone could converse civilly. No one got into anyone's face, and we discussed a lot of really excellent topics. The professor was actually really good at moderating everything. So it was actually one of the better experiences I've had, because a lot of times you get into these type of discussions and people are very how can I say, very blinders on, right? They don't want to, they're focused on their point of view, but they're not open to other points of views. And I think in the realms that we explore, a lot of it fringe. I mean, we need to be open to different possibilities. And I think, I've shared with Brian sort of what my beliefs are and stuff, but at the same time, I don't judge other people's beliefs. In fact, I sometimes find them interesting because, hey, you know what? None of us here on this channel has the answers. So it's important that we always approach things with a very open mind. So yeah, anyone's interested, let me know. I'll
Yeah, I think it's good to have that not knowing mind rather than being certain something's not true or certain something is true. But my thinking, wonder if the University of Edinburgh is looking for people to train like psychic spies to use with intelligence, and they're using it as a ground to find people. That's the way I think. What do you think? Oh, your sound is off. Sorry.
Yeah. I always turn my mic off because sometimes I have a little bit of a buzz because of my thing. It's interesting that you mentioned that because obviously that program, remote viewing, that the DoD led, actually started in the mid 70s, and actually that program went on until the mid to late 90s. Actually kept going till about almost 2000. As a canceled program as far as remote viewing and clairvoyance, all sanctioned by our American or our, depending if you're American or not, our elected officials. Very interesting studies that the DoD uncovered there. They had a lot of busts, but they had several very legitimate claims as far as out of body experiences, getting remote viewing intelligence back with the USSR, and then obviously post into the 90s with Russia. But actually that program never really died, because the folks that were pioneering it at the DoD actually went on to work for the UK government. And that program kept going until 2007 in the UK. And that was part of PAIRS, which is the PAR program, which was the UK program that basically studied remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, also with electromagnetism and all of the other interesting things. I think it was part of the, trying to think of the name, PAIRS was Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research. So that was adopted by the UK until about 2007. I have never seen their data. Obviously, that remains classified under the UK. They don't have the same FOIA or Freedom of Information request that the US has, but it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I think what happens when they say such and such a department had shut down, it's gone now, it's because, you know, that name is gone. They created a newer one, a bigger one, and a better one. So then they can publicly announce, oh, we stopped doing that. It's all over now. Like I was reading that the Army announced after the Challenger blew up in 1986 and around 1989, they said we actually had an Army space program. It wasn't known to the public, but we shut it down now after the Challenger blow up. They have something like 32 astronauts, they announced. Like, oh, really? You had an Army space program and now you've shut it down? So they probably have something else, like a secret space program. That's why I think when they say they've stopped doing, so like remote viewing, I don't imagine they ever stopped doing it, you know. Oh, your mic again.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Me, I would turn off.
Yeah, I know. I always instinct. No, I mean, it definitely kept going. I can definitely vouch for that until at least the late 90s. And then, like I said, because the UK is a very close ally, the UK picked up on it. And as far as they said it was discontinued in 2007. But if you ask me offline, I think that program is continuing to be run out of the UK, obviously NATO. So it's, you know, the strings are still there, right? The folks that were running it to the DoD basically continued their operation in the UK. Nothing top secret with that. It's public information at this point.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Google it.
Yeah. Yeah, so what else is happening? What else is going on?
That's my rundown. What did I miss?
Your UFO studies? What about Area 51? Can you tell us what sort of work you did at Area 51? What years you worked there?
Brian always likes talking about that. we
Well,
keep
it
that
helps the
offline.
ratings of the Vancouver UFO YouTube channel, helps our ratings. You got to do whatever we can to increase our ratings.
I prefer going into the I prefer talking about my University of Edinburgh course. That's how I changed the subject.
That tells you, folks, he's changed the subject. Joseph's the real deal. He was there, man.
Robin's typing. He's distracted.
Well, I actually have a secrecy oath too. I understand what it's like. Oh, but hey, anyone else like to chime in? Mimi, are you back yet? Mimi was busy with her family, so maybe she's not there. Or Stephen or Rolf is here.
Right, for me.
Oh, okay.
And thank you for this evening.
Oh, it's getting late for you, Marie.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm a bit accustomed to such meetings.
We stick around a little bit more and you'll be cooking breakfast.
No, it's only midnight and a half. Well, it's not the right way to say it.
Well, thank you, Marie. It's always good to have your experience and wisdom. Thank you.
And goodbye.
Okay.
See you soon.
See you next time. Okay.
Not really. I've been a listener this time.
Not really. Okay.
The presentation we had today was just excellent, and learned some new things, which is always good. That's what these meetings and meetups are for. You know, it's interesting how being that Canada is our northern neighbor, in many ways we have so much in common, really. other than some of the politics and the other problems that we seem to have here in the US. I've always, at these meetups with Vancouver UFO, I've always have left with a smile usually on my face, and learning more things and having more questions. And sometimes I have questions to ask, and other times I have a lot of research to look up things and learn more. So it's been a blessing. And then of course this COVID thing has really changed a lot of people's lives. I'm very fortunate where I'm at because the business I'm affiliated with, we didn't have to have all these protocols that some people had to put up with. And no one's been sick here where I'm at. And as far as paranormal going on, I still have instances where I've had some orbs and things show, and nothing unusual really that way, other than we had a snowstorm here some weeks back. That was in about I believe the 14th of March. And I did get out and take some pictures in the evening time, and a lot of orbs in the area here, and even some things that were quite unusual in that here there's no snow coming down, and it's crystal clear out, other than having, of course, the snow on the ground. And then where I happen to live, there was like energy fields. It looked like almost ghosting and things with it, which was very strange, because I'd take other pictures and it wouldn't be there, but I mean other areas of the area, but just where I happened to be, there was orbs coming out of the ground, and this I live in an area where in the past and even much in the present have had like portals open up and individuals actually come through, and I see them and they see me, and then they disappear. And it's like at times I used to call it like Grand Central Station. It's like, so what's so great about coming and seeing me, you know? Or am I one of their subjects that they watch? Because I do think that's happening to me quite often. And so it's just real interesting. And you know, with this paranormal and the UFO subject matter and things, it's one of the things I could never understand. And I profess to be a Christian, and I believe in Christianity, but I also believe in the truth. And I know there's things left out of the Bible, but even in the Bible itself talks about other dimensions and God's creation of the universe and other worlds. So I don't understand why people get uptight about that. I mean, these things have been going on for millennia. And, you know, I think the world is there's so much uniqueness, and there's so much beauty, and there's so much good. And then the sad part is society so many times controlled by the negative aspect of life and try to oppress people in their thought, mind, and soul. And, you know, I want to be free, and I want freedom in the way that the knowledge is out there and we're allowed to actually know the truth. And so that's my lifelong journey. Is when I came into this world, I had it in my mind and shown that we're here to be here to make the world a better place, and to promote love and kindness and good towards all, and to see things in a perspective that, in other words, we grow spiritually, and that we have a world that, because there's so much for us if we could only get to that certain point where we could agree upon you know, the truth, I think is the way to put it. And so I love everyone that comes on these meetings. In fact, I try to love the whole world. I really do. It's just that some people I don't like. And, you know, it's just life itself, because we've all experienced that, where there's those that are negative about things, and you care about them as human beings, but you pray for them too. That
It
they could,
reminds me of one of John Lennon's last songs. He said, "You want to save humanity, but it's people that you just can't stand."
well, you know what our biggest problems are? Governments. You get psychopaths that become leaders, and and they get to they go crazy. I mean, the things that are going on in this world right now are things that 10, 20 years ago, if you would have told people about, they go, that'll never they'd never go that crazy. And yet look at what we see, you know, and the negativity towards any type of good progress, because I think that's part of living in this being that we are, is to grow mentally and spiritually. And you know, that's something that I see many of the powers to be, they don't want that. They don't even want people talking to each other. It's like, oh my gosh, they might learn the truth, and we'd be in trouble then, because there's more of them than there are us. So, you know, so change begins with us as individuals, and the truth also is to seek out. And you know, as things go through the years, I've tried to keep a real balance to the paranormal and the UFO situation and spiritual things, because you can get off into a tangent sometimes, and then you get where it's almost becomes like a religion cult, and then you got things that get put into it that they're half truths, and people aren't really learning; they're just being controlled by the information, and I want to stay away from that. And that's why these groups that are open, like this particular group, are so wonderful to be part of. And of course, making new friends. And I've been very fortunate to actually meet Marie in person a couple times.
It
She's
was,
been in the area, and you know,
it was
I'll tell
nice
you,
to meet you in person.
yeah. So
I miss that.
yeah, I tell you, and
Usually at that time of the year, I was preparing my next trip, you know,
yeah.
so that's something that I miss.
Well,
Well,
hopefully in the near future here, things will open up again. We can have some freer
I
travel,
hope so. I hope so.
you know, because this is, you know, the sad thing has been this past year, I actually have had several people that I knew that have passed away. And there's been even a suicide or two too that,
Wow.
you know, I'll tell you, there's a lot of stress in a lot of people, especially here in America. Now, other countries, I don't know how it all is, because I
Same.
see things that are actually, they're disgusting, is what I see in some of, even in my early childhood on. And so I thought pretty much this was normal for people to be able to open up, and but I found through the years that I probably turned a lot of people away as even becoming friends, because as soon as I start talking about this, you know, it's like, oh, you're one of those, you know, freaks, or you know, whatever you want to call people that talk about it, you know. And I've
Yeah, your
always,
parents would talk about UFOs with your brothers and sisters. So that's really
well,
rare for
I
a
have a
family.
brother, yeah, just
Brother,
one
yeah.
brother, yeah.
But it's
And
rare for a family to openly talk about it. Your family must be the exception rather
well,
than
they
the
were
rule.
experiencers when they
Yeah.
basically had me, and you know, and experiences happen through the years at times. And that's one of the things that I told you, Brian, that maybe one of these days I will do it, some kind of presentation. But there's still
Yeah.
some years in my life that are, I can't quite pinpoint what all happened, you know. I mean, I remember when I was very young, and then as I got older, but there was some years there that we moved around a lot, and I know things happened, but I can't remember them, you know, clearly enough to give a good account. And
It's good your family could talk. Like Jeff's family, his parents didn't really talk about it. Like he knows his mother, where he was in his mother's room, and then the aliens put a needle. All he had all these, but his mother never really wanted to talk about it. In his family, they didn't talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sad, but you know, that's the way society's been too. And of course, the way we go through our life and depending even on the schools we go to. I was very fortunate to have back in the mid 60s, I had a very good teacher, and that was in the 6th grade. And today, he would be considered like a, um, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. The movie where I don't know why this happens sometimes. I just can't think. The one that does the Harrison Ford. I had a teacher like him that actually went down to the Amazon and seen some of the areas, and I mean, he actually went into things, and he was one of the few teachers I ever had that we had to give a presentation in the class, and I gave one on UFOs, and that's back in the mid 60s. And he was open to things like that and encouraged the students, you know.
Stephen, now I try to quit again. Maybe I could.
One thing I could add to the talk, I was going to ask Paul Elder a question. He mentioned, you know, when astronauts get out of the capsule after months, they're quite weak, and how the alien grays were quite thin, not made for this environment. My theory, which I've learned from others, is that part of the reason for the hybrid program is the gray aliens weren't made for this planet. The human body was. So the idea of creating a hybrid human is something that has the gray kind of mind, that internal telepathic gray mind, but more with the human body, just because it has to suit this particular planet. It has to suit planet Earth. So that kind of makes sense. That this gradual program of changing the species, have this upgraded human hybrid that will fit this planet, but it'll still be part of this like Federation of Planets or universal governing body. Like I've got, that's how Susie Hansen describes it in her book. So that kind of, this is also the twin soul connection, about sort of a twin soul with a gray and a human, similar like what Jeff has. And then other people express that theory. So that's kind of my current hypothesis. I'm always refining my view. Anybody want to comment on that? Since Paul's not here, I was going to ask him that, but he had to go.
Well, I think that's intelligent way to think of it, because it would only make sense. I mean, look at how different animals have been hybrided in the sense too. You know, like a good example, dogs. There's so many different varieties of different dogs, but some of them were actually, how can I say, the hybridization of them in a sense, to be good farm dogs or be temple dogs, or you know, all different reasons. Some dogs are good at swimming and doing things too, that you train a certain type of dog for when you hunt and things.
Yeah, like a hound dog.
Yeah. So
just
I mean,
there's this morning.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, and as being a humanoid, gosh, look at how things are even on Earth itself. In that you look through history, and I think we were very intelligent at one time. I think we actually had more intelligence, but because of different things happening and being manipulated and poisoned, you know, and different things, that we actually have lost a lot of our intelligence.
Yeah, just last Wednesday in a Linda Moulton House show, she was talking how the Neanderthals had larger brains and also compassionate, because there's like flowers on graves they found. She had a really good show last Wednesday, also talking about you know, the genetics and how the genetics of human beings, the graves could almost preserve like a CD-ROM in a library, and they could kind of re-experience human lives based upon their genetics. And this is also in the very first Star Trek episode in 1964, Captain Christopher Pike. He said, you know, do disclosures, which were great, says, do they feel with me too? So whoever made the first Star Trek episode, they had some inside information about grays, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of the sci-fi, well, not a lot of it, but at least some of it was really in-depthly done, in the sense that they did their did a due diligence of studying before they produced a show, meaning that they tried to make it as scientifically known at that time, the facts, and of course using different aliens sometimes too, that were taken from actually experiences. And
Yeah, I think so. Like the day the Earth stood still in
oh,
1951.
I thought that was excellent.
And the CIA was involved in it. I read that they want to see how America would react to an alien landing. And,
Yeah.
and later in 1952, they're concerned that maybe an invasion was actually underway. It was called the Year of the Flying Saucer. More flying saucers in 1952 than any other year ever recorded, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a test, you know, to
Right.
sort of introduce it to the world.
Right.
Mm.
I'll tell you a show that I watched on the internet that, of course, you know, there's been a lot of different movies through the years, and even TV series. And there was actually they would call it the German Star Trek. Have you ever watched that? It's
No,
called
what is it?
called Space Patrol.
Oh.
And it's all in German. And oh, I'm trying to think. I think it was like 1966, 67.
Was it like with actors or animated?
Oh no, it was actors.
Oh, we should get the English translation. This would be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It actually, well, they lived under the ocean, and they had a very unique saucer type craft. And in its day and age, it was typically German, meaning that a uniqueness of European design craft and the way things were done. And I haven't seen it where it's been translated yet. And it'd be nice if somebody would do that, because they did make enough shows that they had their problems too, where they go out into space and on patrol, and there was a race of beings that would attack outposts, and you know, the usual storyline
I
of how
see
it
this.
goes.
So you think
Yeah.
it was based on some truth? You think they knew something true?
Oh, I believe so.
Wow, I'd
so.
like to see this. Space Patrol.
It was done in black and white, and then someone tried to revive it because there was still enough interest to it, and that would have been where they used sets and CG, you know, computer generated, and of course it'd be human actors and things. And I guess because of funding and just how things go sometimes, trying to produce a TV series, but it's called Space Patrol. And there's another name for, I think there's either a movie called that or some other series. Oh yeah, that's right. There was a series in the US called Space Patrol, but you want the one that's in German. It's German.
I like the TV show UFO from 1969. I think it won 1 year in England. That was
that
cool.
was excellent.
That was cool, yeah.
And if you watch the whole series itself, there were some real interesting things about it, you know, being that we had a moon base.
Yeah.
And even some of the situation with the aliens. And then if you watch the whole series, you got to see the last one, and you sort of seen what was going on.
Our friend actually, my UFO meetup around 2011, he had the whole UFO series on DVD. Let me watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
The one female actress, she was like one of the most beautiful women in Britain at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, you know
cool.
how the English are.
Yeah.
They have you know, that culture, a certain sense of humor, and then they were able to use some of their shows too, sex appeal. We'll just put
the real mini skirts, the 1969 mini skirts, like
God.
wow, on the moon. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, and of course, let's see, I'm trying to think of one other one that you might have liked too. Well, you know, we've had some good ones. Actually, the one that was done in Canada, the New Outer Limits, that's an excellent series
Oh, I
for
didn't see that. Oh, the Outer
sci-fi.
Limits. They had one from around 1960, right? The
Right.
original Outer Limits.
But the one that was done in the I believe it was either like in the real early 90s, it's called The New Outer Limits, and it gets into paranormal, the space travel, aliens, uh, robot technology, and some really good storylines. And the thing that was so interesting about it is, of course, the writers make a big difference, and it had Canadian actors, which are very good. I'd say most of them are very good actors.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I'm just
Well,
acting.
there's a difference. No, there's a difference in attitude. You know, not that the U.S. has had some really great actors too through the years, but I don't know. There's just something about some of the Canadians that have seemed like they've done very well with at least some of the shows that I've watched. I've really enjoyed. And but no, the New Outer Limits. But there was this one that showed that the U.S. government was into mind control and using these special cell tower antennas, and to where they were actually able to take over the communities and have people think and do what they wanted.
Oh, you mean it's a portend of what's to come, you mean?
Yes, it's
Wow.
season 6, and it's called The Grid. If you ever want to watch that, and here's what's interesting about it: the writers were disseminating information because some of the names they were using, I looked up, and it got into you know, because at that time the internet was a little freer some years back for information, and it actually got into researchers. There was one researcher down in Australia, and they used that name, and I looked into it, and it was about using different frequencies for mind control. So there was a real message that they were trying to portray in that particular episode.
Maybe it's like the revelation of the method. They have to tell us what they're going to do to us before they do it. And if we don't object, that means we've given us our permission. Therefore, they have less negative karma. That's the thinking of the elites, supposedly.
Right. Well, they like
Yeah.
to show off, in a sense that, like, see us, we can do this, and you know, it's like, what are you gonna do about it, type of thing, and the control of it. But no, as growing up as a child, um, everywhere I've lived, I've always had encounters of UFOs, craft, and paranormal, and I've even seen some of the wee people, elves. I've actually seen elves appear, and things that are just, you know, it's where when I see these things, I'll pinch myself and go, I'm awake. I'm awake. You know,
Oh.
in other words, they're not in dreams. They're actually, you know, and
Yeah, in Buddhist cosmology, these are explained. The Buddha described kambandhas in the first heaven and seventh sphere, which are kind of like leprechauns. And
right.
some of them can be a bit sneaky and cheaty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's all a whole huge variety of different types of devas, higher and lower. They're not necessarily so high or spiritual.
Right.
Real mixed bag, yeah.
So it's been a good life. You know, I've went through things and lost family and stuff and good friends, but I'm going on and I'm looking for the future, towards the future. And then when I pass, I know I'll be going on a different plane and different realm, you know. And so, but yeah, anyone that's still on, if they're into liking any good sci-fi, um, you know, the New Outer Limits and the Old Outer Limits, those are real good ones. And then if you want something that, if you can understand German to a degree, or want to see something that they tried to do to sort of compete with Star Trek, was it's called Space Patrol, and that was a series over in Germany. And then, of course, UFO was great. And then I'll tell you another one that was actually pretty decent, and that was in their earlier 60s, mid to early 60s, the Invaders. I don't know if you've ever seen that series.
You know, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
That's a good series too, because It, well, you know, some of the sci-fi was geared more towards the negativity of any kind of extraterrestrial or space beings, you know.
Maybe
But
that's deliberate to misdirect us, right?
well,
They
I
don't
think
want us to
so.
know about us. They want us.
Right.
They're trying to be negative about us, so we don't get the spiritual connection from the
Right.
Greys or the White Norks or whatever. They're trying to
Yeah.
thwart that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually in the TV show V. It was filmed about 10 years ago. I was
Oh,
a background
yes.
actor in Vancouver. I played a high Catholic cardinal, and we had this special effects scene with all this electricity on the ceiling. We're going like this, you know, we're in the Vatican.
No.
I was one of the 7
No,
cardinals.
so that was the new V, right?
Yeah, the new V. Yeah, not the
You
one
were
from
in,
1982. I was in
no,
the new V.
you were in that?
Yeah, I'm in it. You can see me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to,
One-
because I've watched that, but I haven't seen it in
I
a
met
good
the
number of
3
years.
stars of the show because I fainted. I had this cardinal suit on. I actually fainted, so it drew some attention, you know. And it cost about I think $150,000 an hour to run the set. There was like a lot of people, 50 or 70 people. And the star of the show, she came over and gave me some juice, you know, to give me some blood sugar, a little chat
Oh,
with
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my moment of fame in the movie V.
Well, maybe that's why you look familiar. Because sometimes I remember things in my mind and I'm going, do I know that person?
Yeah. I'm a
But
bit
no.
better known now for my videos on the internet, but
yeah, you've done quite a bit. And if I was in a little bit different situation, I'd help out in the way doing some technical stuff. But right now I'm still having to work and trying to take care of other things. And I'm very happy I can even come to these meetups, because there's days when, during the week, sometimes we don't get out of here until almost 8 o'clock at night. That's a long
what sort
day.
of work do you do?
My brother has a automotive repair shop.
Oh.
So it can be longer than it should be.
So you work there, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you actually do automotive repairs?
I do a lot of the office and take care of the customers and
oh yeah, of course.
And then pick up parts. In other words, a lot of the stuff that would take a lot of time otherwise, you know, through the day. But gotten to meet a lot of neat people, and occasionally some of the customers end up being basically lifelong friends, you know. And
God bless America. Such good people there in Washington.
Well, they're good people everywhere, actually.
Oh, yeah, but I like Americans. Yeah, I mean, I've been there a lot.
I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the screwy government people, some of them, we'd have a great world. You know?
Oh yeah, we understand the difference between the government, the elites, and the average people. Same in Canada.
You know, they're always trying to help us. Well, I wish sometimes they would just, you know, it's almost like you'd like to just pay them to never do anything. You know what I mean? We don't need your help.
But I wonder if we should wrap up here. Anyone else want to say anything? And because we've been at this 4 hours now, it's another day. Dave's still here. Should we maybe turn on our cameras and say goodbye? I don't know if is Wolf still there? Barry signed off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess maybe we should wrap up. Hey, what do you think?
Well, good. Well, it's nice being able to communicate, talk, and express some things. And again, you know, if you get some time, just look into those that I was telling you about for the TV series and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, message from Dave saying, yeah, guys, great coming back. Okay, Dave. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I guess we'll wrap up, and a big thank you to Paul Elder, his first time joining us. Maybe he'll be back. It was a good talk. And thanks, Steve, and everyone else who came.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
And Mimi. Okay.
Yes, bye.
Oh, Mimi's here.
Yeah, I've been here all along.
Oh yeah.
I just had stuff that I had to do, and I couldn't be part of it. But it was really I'm really glad I recorded it. I'm glad I asked you, because I missed a few parts. So I'm gonna take a really good look at it, and then I'll put some comments and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody who was there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Bye.
So I guess we'll wrap up now. Bye. Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, that
Hello,
was
Mimi.
wrong.
Goodbye. Oh, Rolf's here.
Hey, Rob.
Okay.
Hi,
All
Rob.
right.
Okay.
All right.
bye.
See everybody. Thanks for
Okay.
coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.